So it's really important, Roland, that advisors have a clear understanding of what these terms mean and how they work together. A succession plan really refers to the planned transfer of ownership, leadership, management of an advisor's business internally to a new generation of advisors. At its core, a succession plan is really a plan designed to grow an advisor's business, right? By leveraging the talent of next generation advisors and creating a business model and entity that no longer relies on the founding advisor. In contrast, a continuity plan refers to the transfer of ownership, leadership, management of an advisor's firm, either internally or externally, in the event of an unplanned or random event. So for example, death, disability, and in case a pandemic. So this is really just a form of insurance to preserve the value of a business and ensure that it continues to function even if the founder is unable to continue for whatever reason. So when you think of these terms in this way, it's not as if an advisor has to choose between putting in place either a succession plan or a continuity plan. They actually need to do both, right? One as part of a planned growth strategy, the other for purposes of managing risk in the event of an unplanned or succession planning and continuity planning in the way that I just described, then you start to realize that these two concepts are intended to solve two very different problems, right? But they can also be thought of as interdependent, meaning they can also overlap and be designed to support each other. So the smartest thing I think that an advisor can do is to build a comprehensive plan that incorporates both of these concepts. So every advisor should start by putting in place a continuity or business continuity or a contingency plan. If that advisor is a sole proprietor, then that continuity plan will necessarily involve an external third-party advisor. If the advisor has one or more juniors already part of their team, then their continuity plan would involve obviously those juniors. The key point here though is having a continuity plan in place means that the essential pieces of the succession plan are already now in place. Those pieces being the future leaders and owners of the business. And so once these individuals are already in place, now you can begin over time to address other issues like when to begin the transfer of ownership, on what terms, what are the new roles and responsibilities of each of the individuals involved, compensation arrangements, and so on and so forth. So the continuity plan over time can evolve into a longer-term succession plan that ultimately ensures the orderly transfer of the ownership, leadership, management of the business to support the longer-term vision of the founder. And clearly the inverse is also true, right? If you have a succession plan in place, but not a continuity plan, then the key members of your succession plan can form the basis of your continuity. Common misconception is that too many advisors equate succession planning with either a buy-sell agreement or the sale of their business to a third party. So a buy-sell agreement obviously is a key piece of an advisor's continuity plan, and the sale of a business to a third party, that's best thought of as an exit plan. But neither of those should be thought of in the same way or being identical to or equal to a well-developed and robust succession plan. And this misconception is really a shame because it has real serious consequences for the advisor. So for example, it really prevents the advisor from truly understanding the various strategic options and choices that are available to them when they're developing their succession plan. It causes them to wait too long to develop their succession plan, thinking that all I need to do is find a buyer and agree on a purchase price, or all I really need to do is enter into a buy-sell agreement, which further limits their options. And at the end of the day, it can prevent them from realizing the full potential and the full value of their business. So it's really important that an advisor has a clear understanding of what a succession plan is and what it isn't. This is really an interesting concept and distinction. And so the distinction between have you built a business versus do you have a practice is critical. And the reason why it's critical is very simple. A prospective buyer will always attribute much more value to a business than they will a practice. Right? And the reason for this is a business has associated with it something called enterprise strength or equity value. And enterprise strength or equity value is what you mean when you're talking about a firm's infrastructure, its people, its processes, its procedures, its tools, its systems, and so on. So a firm that takes a team-based approach, that puts in place clear processes, procedures, and systems with respect to new client acquisition, financial management, marketing, operations, the client experience, that invests in technology, that invests in their brand and their public image and presence, that's a firm that will have created enterprise strength and equity value. And as such, it's going to be valued much more highly in the eyes of a prospective buyer. So this advisor who's built a business as opposed to a practice, well, they've created economic value for themselves that's comprised of three elements: their compensation for work done as an advisor, for their share of profits from the firm as a result of their role as owner of a healthy and growing firm, and their share of the enterprise strength or the equity value of the firm at the time of eventual sale to a buyer. I would suggest to them, the first would be start your planning now. All right, it's never too soon to start this kind of planning. You may think that 5 to 10 years is a long way away, but from a planning and an implementation perspective, it really isn't. And the second would be, and this is tied to the first thing, that realize that your retirement and your eventual exit from the industry, it's not an event, it's a process, right? And so that over the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to very likely need to do several big things, like you're going to need to make enhancements to your business to ensure that it continues to grow, that it increases in value, that it retains its attractiveness to prospective buyers. And you're going to need to find and put into place the right people to not only own your business, but to manage it and lead it into the future. So all of these initiatives, they take careful planning and they take time to implement. And another thing I suggest is that you make sure that you take the time to develop a really clear vision for your retirement and what your own personal financial needs are going to be for your retirement. And in conjunction with that, take the time to ensure your emotional readiness for when it comes time to retirement and letting go of your business and exiting the industry. Don't underestimate the impact that that's going to have on you as you come closer to retirement. So make sure that you're walking towards something as opposed to away from your business. That's going to ensure that your transition and the succession of your business is going to go much more smoothly. So prior to COVID-19, I was already of the view, like many others, that our industry is in the midst of transformational change due to a variety of strategic forces and trends that are impacting our industry. And these forces and trends are going to lead to, in my view, a restructuring of the marketplace. In light of COVID-19, I still believe that this restructuring in the industry will take place, but my sense is that the rate at which this change and consolidation takes place is only going to increase. So I think the impact of the pandemic is it's going to accelerate the process. So my sense is that we're likely to see an increasing number of older advisors choose to sell their books and leave the industry sooner than they otherwise would have. I think we're likely to see a shift in the balance of power between buyers and sellers. So today, if you think about it, much of the power resides with sellers. There are more buyers than sellers right now. I think that dynamic will change in the next few years as an increasing number of advisors come to the market looking to sell their business. Buyers are going to be able to be much more selective and as such in the driver's seat. As a result, I think we're likely to see a downward pressure on valuations as buyers have more selection to choose from. And you add it all up, my view is that there are going to be winners and losers within the advisor community. The winners are going to be those advisors who are proactive. They have a robust and comprehensive transition plan in place. The losers, I'm afraid, are those who are late to the game or don't have a plan in place. So to me, the takeaway for all advisors comes back to this central idea and the central theme: take action now, right? It's never too soon to develop a comprehensive transition plan.